Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday. Hello, Walnut. It is me, Laz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday. I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I hope post the initiation card vibes that you are making it through the dark and stormy, and I hope that the light at the end of the tunnel and colorfulness is kind of starting to shine through a little bit more. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for getting here, and also thank you for being here through my dark and stormy. This week, Walnut, I wanted to chat to you about some tips that I have kind of been implementation into my life, and talk a little bit about Walnut Communication and how a particular thing has impacted on my relationship. So you probably don't know, because I have not necessarily directly alluded to it on Walnut Wednesday, but in my relation, so I've been with my partner for 100 years, very long. We're like a pair of old slippers, but that does come with its trial and tribulations. And I've talked a little bit about how there's a difference between single Pringles and long-term relations, and kind of relationships that have couples who are sort of in the middle ground of almost becoming long-term. What even is the category for long-term? I'm not sure. But I've been with my partner for a very, very long time, exceeding the 10-year mark. And naturally, with that comes communication can get really stale. And I feel like what I want to talk about on this episode, Walnut, can be applied to, relationships at work, friendships, and all the thing. But Walnut communication is really hard. And especially if you are a sensitive sausage like me, and especially if, Walnut, you are similar to me, where using your voice is kind of hard and you're not very good at expressing how you feel or what you think, and especially if you're in a situation where you feel like you have to defend yourself a little bit. So in my relation, we've struck quite a long period of turbulence, and we've been working through that sort of stuff, and it's just walnutting on walnutting on walnutting in terms of communicating and articulating how I feel, and also receiving how somebody else feels. So there are different types of people, right? Walnut, some people can just really like come in and almost feel like they're lecturing you, but it's just because they are feeling so frustrated that we're not listening. And things that come into it are like the love languages, the personality types, and how you respond, and in your way, and how you receive other people's way, and how you can kind of translate that into a way that isn't like the ping pong effect of needing to bounce back and defend yourself, or tit for tat, and try and make things kind of equal. And the dynamics between also, the mental load, being a woman, all of the things they kind of like attribute to this. And we expect our relationships to be able to hold all this polaricalness that is going on. And when the minute that you involve another person into your life, whether it be, a partner, love interest, or a friend or a colleague, there are all types of barriers that we need to try and break down. And for me, being in a long-term relation, it's also the breaking of habits and the way that you do things. Being in my relation for so long, there are so many different habits that I've had to learn to cull and grow into as well. And walnutting being a really particular one, being brave and asking for what I need, and all that kind of stuff comes with a lot of courage, a lot of the time. So I wanted to talk about how to create that safety to be able to express yourself and articulate what it is that you need. And something that we have been doing for a little while post turbulence, there was a lot of we were just butting heads, and we were both kind of we both needed the same thing, kind of like expressing it to each other in different ways, but it was bouncing off because it was not being received. And yeah, saying it is one thing, but also receiving what someone else is saying is another thing. And it takes a lot of emotional intelligence, active listening. And sometimes when you're butting heads with someone, you're not in a position to listen to what the other person wants because you want them to hear what you want. And so there's a weird little compromise that needs to happen to get to a place where you can effectively communicate with each other. And I feel like there's a lot of that going on, and particularly this time of year, there's family dynamics, there's a whole bunch of different things where it's just really important. But the example I wanted to give today, Walnut, and I think might really help with this, is the beauty of the 5 minutes, and how 5 minutes has been salvaging and really helping my relationship. So we learned this technique from what is she? She's not a therapist, she's not a counselor. I can't think of the word, but we came to an agreement that we were going to invite a third party into our relationship, and just to get some tools and helpful hints of how to actually communicate with each other effectively. And something that we have been doing, we got it as homework and we tried it for a little while and just realized this is actually so effective that we've continued it on. And to the point where we've recently had a bit of a turbulence blow up, and used this and reflected that, we haven't been doing our 5 minutes and the importance of it. So this is something I really want to share with you, Walnut. It's really on my heart. It's a big, heavy beast that I can't even actually get into it on the podcast. But it is 5 minutes. It is your own bubble of 5 minutes. So what we do is we've agreed on a time where for us it's when we're driving in the car together. There's nowhere to run. And the agreement is you get 5 minutes on a timer to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. And our homework sort of started as for me to talk about a particular topic, and then for him to talk about a particular topic. The agreement that you need to have with each other is the 5 minutes in a rule book is your own bubble on your own timer, no questions allowed, no commentary allowed, and it's just a place to use your voice in that 5 minutes while the timer is running. At first, it's very awkward and very, very uncomfortable to have a one-sided conversation. It's almost like doing your own podcast episode. But the other person simply needs to receive the information, not bite back on the information, and just listen. And we've added our own rule in afterwards where we say, thank you for sharing. And then after your 5 minute bubble has finished, the other person can have their 5 minutes. And that is it. I thought this episode was going to go on for much longer, but that's essentially it. 5 minutes each. Thank you for sharing. And then you're done. And what I have found in practicing the 5 minutes, Walnut, is that by the end of my timer, I have released all of the tension, the rage, the fury, the sadness, sometimes the happiness. I have released all of the big feelings out into the ether, out of my brain, out of my mouth, and into the world, and into the ears of somebody who, not as being forced to listen to them, but who has agreed to hold the space and just listen and nod and not bite back. It really makes you feel heard. And I have found that afterwards, I feel that the problem isn't a big snowball anymore. Because, Walnut, sometimes when something annoys us and when we're not releasing it straight away, be it through voice or exercise or whatever, we do hang on to it, right? And we've talked about this on the podcast so much, you and I, where the snowball effect is so real. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and resentments build, and the tit for tat builds, and if you do this, then I need to do this, or if I'm going to do this for you, you have to do this for me. And you're always trying to one up somebody in a conversation. And when you're someone who doesn't have a strong voice, air bunny quotes, that is difficult, because I feel like I often just give in to keep the peace, or say sorry, or try and just make it better. And then I build resentment on myself, because I'm like, well, that's not okay. And what do I get out of it? And what's in it for me? And then I become the snowball effect of resentment, essentially. So it's been really, really helpful to have those moments. And oftentimes, yeah, we finish the 5 minutes and then we move on with the day. Oh, so what's for dinner? and it's released, and the tension is gone, and it's just out into the world. So if there's anything, Walnut, that I can recommend, particularly in relationships, it is to try the 5 minutes, although it does have to be an agreed experience. It can't just be like, right, hi, I'm the boss here of the situation. It has to be like, if you think of a triangle and you're on one side and the other person's on the other side, it needs to be going towards the point at the top for the greater good of the relationship. That's the goal in mind, is the relationship, not you, not them. It's the tip of the triangle. And I feel like the 5 minutes kind of just expresses that, but also gives you the opportunity to speak, and also gives you the opportunity to be heard. So 5 minutes has really changed my relationship. And at the end of the day, 5 minutes is not a big amount of time. And like I said, Walnut, we've noticed the buildup of, even when things sort of on the surface just seem fine and dandy and we're just carrying on with normal life, there is this weird little buildup where we blow up and have realized, oh shit, we haven't been doing 5 minutes, and we haven't been giving each other the opportunity to speak or say what they need. So yeah, it's been interesting to kind of hold your tongue, because by the end of it, Walnut, when I'm on the listening end, I have so many rebuttals, right? I have so much to bite back on. I'm like, but holding my tongue. And then by the end of the 5 minutes, I'm like, oh yeah, what was I going to rebut on in the first place? Because there's usually a lot you can cover in 5 minutes. So it's like, oh, what bit was the most important? And by the end of it, you kind of even don't feel like having the argument anymore, because it's gone, it's past, it's out, released. So I hope this little tip helps, Walnut, but it does actually take a really concentrated amount of walnutting and courage to get to that space of building a place where you feel that safety with another person and okay to speak. And Walnut, for me, that's come from the courage to speak, or the courage to try something else, or the courage to be quiet. And I've always talked how I feel like I don't have a voice sometimes, or I feel like I'm just giving in, or feeling like a doormat, people pleaser, all the things. But then there are other times where I'm hearing something and I'm like, no, that's wrong. And I point that out. And so I don't really listen effectively as well. So there is so much strength and courage in listening, but not by giving someone what they need and with an eye roll and being like, oh, fine, I'm just doing this because whatever. It's actually genuinely listening and going, okay, and what's my part in this? Or how can we work together, or what can we come up with? Again, the tip of the triangle, not just one-sided. It's been really helpful for me, Walnut, to just stop thinking from just my head and thinking from a different angle, because I have listened to somebody else. So I hope this helps, and I would love to know if you have any questions or feedback on it. But 5 minutes can be so crucial to making you feel like you have a place, and that you are safe. And we often look to external things and environments to make us feel whole, Walnut. But the more I have found, the more that I practice speaking my voice, or acting with integrity for myself, so not doing the people pleaser thing, actually having a boundary, has just really impacted on my self-esteem, on my integrity as a walnut, on my whole being, If you can hear that, that's my Kevin. On my way of being to have a very joyful life. And while I say joyful life, life comes with trials and tribulations, but it's cool to be on a hindsight end of the spectrum, looking back and going, we probably just had that big blowout because we haven't been listening to each other, aka giving each other 5 minutes, or we probably had that blowout because I didn't actually say what I wanted in the moment or what I needed in the moment, or at any given time, whether it be 5 minutes or not, I actually just let that one slide. And there is the term, pick your battles and stuff. But sometimes it's like, it's nice to look back and go, I could have changed that, or I could have just articulated that better. I could have changed my tone, or saying to somebody else, hey, that tone didn't sit well with me, full stop, rather than, you made me feel really uncomfortable and now I want to smash the wall, and all of these big heavy things that come with resentment and the things that build up, and just saying, hey, that tone didn't sit well. Right? Pause for dramatic effect, because that's all we need to say sometimes. Short and sweet, I guess. And yeah, that's where the 5 minutes has been really good, because now we're able to say, hey, didn't really like that. Kind of like, with a kid. No. And it's just no. It's not, well, I can't go out. I'm not going to do that because this, and I don't have any money, and I'm tired, and all these excuses to try and make the other person feel better. It's just no. It's just, I didn't like that. And it's not from a place of I'm being a bitch, or I'm mad at you, or we're not going to speak for 4 more days. It's just from a, hey, didn't like that. I'm articulating how I feel. And that's the end. And being heard and held to be able to just express that properly as well. So, yeah, I think I went on a bit of a tangent there, Walnut, but I'm sure you can pick up what I'm putting down there. It's just 5 minutes. 5 minutes has changed the trajectory of my relationships in so many different ways, because I feel like I'm a confidenter. I'm not confident, but I'm much better at communicating because I have created my own little bubble in which I feel safe to express my emotions. And that started with the small tool of 5 minutes of speaking and 5 minutes of listening. And you can you can make it 10, you can make it 2. But yeah. And sometimes it's just nice to sit and reflect. And it's cool to be able to, the point of the triangle thing, to sit with somebody else with the point of the triangle in mind, and be like, and reflect on, hey, we did this because we did that. Or sometimes just taking a beat to say something nice to the other person as well. I feel like when you're with someone for so long, and sometimes, and friendships too, out of the blue, saying something kind to someone who is always there is so nice. I'm kind of waffling off the topic of communication and building safety, but I hope this little example kind of helps, because it is so important, Walnut, when it comes to communication, and especially Walnut communication, to make sure that the result is that you have felt safe, that you have felt heard, that you have felt expressed. And then the fact that the other person has felt heard and expressed is just the icing on the cake. But we work so hard, Walnut, to cater to other people all the time in all areas of life, that it can become draining, and we take it out on the people that we love the most, because they're always going to be there. It's just really important to make sure that you win for yourself at the end of the day, that you're not harboring and carrying around all this dark cloud of resentment. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that, Walnut, but I hope this helps. Let me know what you think. I really don't know if I came back full circle, but 5 minutes. 5 minutes changed the trajectory of my relation and has helped me in communicating with work environments as well, especially where I don't take a lot of things personally anymore, because I can kind of like actively listen and see, oh, hang on, they're not frustrated at me, it's the situation or whatever. So just make sure that you're winning. Okay, Walnut, make sure that you have articulated, but also in conjunction with that you have also listened. And I look forward to hearing about your walnuttings. And at first, it's awkward. And at first, it's hard. And at first, your voice shakes. And at first, you want to bite back on every little comment. But that beautiful 5 minute bubble, if it's yours to speak or yours to listen, is a really, really beautiful place of reflection and love and for the greater good point of the triangle, which is just a really nice place to actually be sitting in. So if you get through the dark and stormy, just know that every little courageous conversation, every little walnut bravery, courage moment will lead to that little shiny light at the end of the tunnel, colorful horizon that you have. And soon the dark and stormies won't seem so dark and stormy when you're not kind of hovering in it and drenched in rain and about to get struck by lightning. You can just bask in the bliss that is, you won, you're winning, you're content, you feel joy, because you're not holding on to anything heavy anymore. You've let go of all the drenched, wet, woolen, heavy clothes, and you can just be. If you want to be naked, you can be naked. You can just be as you are. wafflewaffle.com. Happy Walnut Wednesday, Walnut, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.